Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be doing a walkabout video on the Forester. So today's walkabout video is showing the Forester as it stands today in 2026. I've done a whole heap of modifications over the last 7 years, which I have another video about, and I've also just taken it through for certification, which I also have another video about. But today what we're going to be doing is going through each and every single one of the modifications to this car as it stands now. We're going to start from the top and work our way down to the bottom. Alright, so starting at the top, we have the ProRack HD roof bars, and they are set up into the fixed point mounting points on the Forester. So this trim from Japan didn't come with the roof rails like a lot of Foresters have. They bolt straight into the roof, which is pretty cool, and it just means you've got a bit of a lower profile. The setup up there changes quite often. I'll often be using the Kiwi Camping Tuatara Summit soft shell rooftop tent up there. It's a great tent. It only weighs 51 kilos, which is reasonably light for rooftop tents, but still I will take it off the Forester when I'm not using it. But it is perfect for those camps where you're out for a few days and you really want the creature comforts. When it's just me solo camping and I want something lightweight, quick and simple, I will pop the 2 meter by 2 meter awning up there, and then I will get my single swag and just pitch that up next to the car. That's a really good option if you just want to get going and not have to worry about setting up anything on the roof. And more permanently set up on the Forester is the 31-inch light bar. This is incredibly bright, and it's just a wee Ridge Rider setup from Super Cheap Auto, but it does the job perfectly. Moving down the car a little further, we have the custom 3.5-inch stainless snorkel. I've always wanted one of these on the car. I previously had a Suzuki Grand Vitara snorkel, which did fit up reasonably well. However, that just didn't provide the airflow that the turbo actually needs. So this was custom made by my dad, who's a retired engineer, and his wheelhouse really isn't TIG welding, but he did have a TIG welder and he had to dust it off and do a few practice rounds, but he did an incredible job. I'm really stoked with it. It comes into the guard here and then goes from a 3.5 to 3-inch reducer, and there's a 3-inch flexible hose that fits inside the guard and then plumbs into the factory airbox. The snorkel setup works really well because it allows plenty of airflow and it sounds absolutely amazing when it's on song. For the lighting on the front, I've still got the Narva 175 Explorers. These have been on for years now and they've been an absolute treat to drive with. Heaps of light, and these are ADR approved, so I can use them in conjunction with my high beam here in New Zealand. The Narva 14-inch light bar just underneath it is linked up with the 31-inch light bar on the roof. That's on a separate connection for off-road use only. And another worthy mention is the F badge from a first generation Forester. At the front we have a 6mm aluminium skid plate, custom made by Templeton Engineering here in Wanaka. They did an awesome job. It's based off a friend's skid plate who had his design first, so we kind of copied and pasted it and then made any little tweaks that we needed for my car. One of the main things is it serves plenty of protection. It's lightweight, so it's easy to do oil changes and service the vehicle, but it also has a little wraparound on the front, which means that if you're backing off an obstacle and you're catching your bumper, it stops it from grabbing and pulling everything off. So it works really well in forwards and reverse. So here's the big one, the lift kit. The lift has had various iterations over the years. I have had everything from raised springs, which I wouldn't recommend, to be absolutely honest, in this model of vehicle. However, the Subielift Oz 2-inch lift kit, 100% would recommend if your shocks are good. My shocks weren't very good at the time of trying to relift my Forester, and I ended up finding out that I need to buy new shocks anyway. So the shocks that I have in there are the Bilstein B8 Terrasports. These are custom designed, and the lift comes physically from the shock being taller and the spring perch being higher. They're designed to be used with factory springs, which I have in the front, So you get 1.5 inch lift at the front and then 1.25 inch lift in the rear. The problem you have with that when running factory springs is when you load up the rear of the car, the rear just sags down. I didn't love that setup, so what I opted for was a pair of standard height king springs, which are HD springs. They perk the rear up and as a result actually lift the rear of the car by about 1 inch when unloaded. It sits much nicer in that setup and it drives beautifully. The only thing is with that setup you need to have the Subielift Oz rear alignment kit in there. So I've got the 2-inch Subielift Oz rear alignment kit that brings your wheel back centered into the arch and then also corrects your rear camber, which you don't have any control over. So that's the setup. It's a Subielift Oz 2-inch subframe kit and then the Bilstein B8 Terrasports, and it's a cracking combo. So for the wheel and tyre setup on this car, I wanted to go with something that had a very Japanese look, and I think I've achieved that. Similar to what you see on a lot of the Jimneys overseas, I wanted to go for the raised T37s. I picked these up a little while ago on Trade Me and I got them for a steal. They're a bit beaten up. They are a bit curbed around here, but that's perfectly fine because I off-road them anyway. They are genuine and they're about 5.6 kilos or 5.4 kilos. It's something ridiculously light. I then had them wrapped with the Hankook AT2 Xtremes with the outside white lettering as part of that look. And I couldn't be more pleased with the tyres, to be honest. I've had them on for about a month. I've done a small amount of off-roading and they perform really well. And on the road, they're really quiet and quite fuel efficient as well, I've found. The sizing for the tyre is 235 70/16s. So that's the equivalent of a 29-inch tyre, not a 33, not a 35, a 29-inch tyre is big for a Subaru. And the spec for the wheels is 16/7. They're a plus 46 offset, but I have brought them out to a 26 offset via the use of hub-centric spacers. Moving around to the back of the Forester, we've got it pretty much set up, ready to head away and make a coffee or cook up a meal on the side of the road if we want to. First off, we have the camp lights just wired up here. That goes into my cigarette lighter, which I can then run with my power bank. These provide really great light when I'm out camping out here when I'm doing some cooking, and then in here into the back boot area so I can rummage around and grab what I need. So while the Forester is a smaller vehicle, we do get to keep some of the modern touring conveniences like this camp kitchen. This one here is a 35 kg unit. You strap it in on the factory tie down points, really easy to take in and out, and it gives us the ability to cook anywhere we like. We also have extra storage in here for our cutlery and our pans, and a really usable bench space. This unit is made by my good friend Stevie up in Christchurch. For the exhaust, we've got a bit of a rumble happening via the X-Force 3-inch catback. That's been on the car pretty much since I got it 7-8 years ago, nearly, far out. It's been on there, it's been through some absolute adventures. It's been repaired and tweaked that many times that it probably needs to be replaced, to be absolutely honest, but it does still sound mint. Alright, we are now inside the Forester and we can check out some of the simple setup we've got on here. We have the GME handheld radio. That's pretty much perfect for what I need to use for my outdoor expeditions when I'm out with other people. And we also have the mod cons like push button start, heated leather seats, and our SI drive configuration, which helps quite a lot when you're wanting to dampen down or perk up the throttle. And to help with that even more, I have the EVC throttle controller. And that almost wraps up everything that I've done to the Forester. There is one extra little piece of nuggety goodness that is, we can't actually get a video shot of it because it is the center diff. I've taken the center diff out of a Bug-Eye WRX, which gives it a VTD swap, which is a variable torque distribution swap. It basically gives me a much more responsive and better drive split between front and rear than it does from factory. So it now has a 55 rear and a 45 front split, and it's much nicer to use off-road and on-road. Well, that about wraps it up. That's how the Forester is sitting right now in 2026. Is there anything else that you would do to it? Please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm really happy with it, how it is right now. It's just a capable on-road car and it's a capable off-road car. It sort of does everything reasonably well. So let's get out. We're going to do some more adventures with it. Follow along, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and thanks so much for watching.